Hello there, Eric McRae here. Continuing with the quick list, 43 findings from biblical archaeology. In the previous video, I went through 24 of these, and so we'll be starting off this video with number 25. A Babylonian arrowhead was actually found in Jerusalem not too long ago amidst material retrieved from the Temple Mount. It's one of the types used by the Babylonian army that destroyed the temple in Jerusalem in 586 BC, the first exile. The attack, as you would know, is recorded and documented in the Bible, and this is an awesome element for corroborating that, because the arrowheads do match the location, and they match the attacker described. Number 26, there is an artifact on which is inscribed the name of Pharaoh Hopra. Now, Pharaoh Hopra is referred to in the Bible in the passage of Jeremiah 44. The sandstone block was purchased and is on display in the Museum of Cairo. A clay cylinder that was inscribed with a cuneiform text around the 6th century BC was discovered in 19th century in Ur. That would be in Chaldea, and now rests in the British Museum. The text on it refers to the son of King Nabonidus, Belshazzar, who is also mentioned in the book of the prophet Daniel in the Bible in chapter 5 and chapter 8. So that corroborates the historicity and dating actually of the book of Daniel, which is pretty important considering Daniel is a book of prophecy. In addition to having some history recorded in it, it gives prophecy of events that are, it's very accurate prophecies, and so it's important that its date is actually corroborated by something outside itself, because it is a book otherwise that'd be hard to pin with the level of accuracy on the prophecy. So that's actually a fantastic finding. Very good. Number 28, we have an artifact. It's another cylinder, and it's known as the Cyrus cylinder. It was found in Babylon in 1879. It's inscribed with cuneiform text. It describes the exploits of the Persian king Cyrus, who was referred to frequently in the Bible and is famed for his authorization of the rebuilding of various matters in Jerusalem. He highly favored the Jewish people. This is mentioned in Isaiah 45 and in the book of Nehemiah. The text contains descriptions of Cyrus allowing captives to return to their homeland, the text on this cylinder. And this is highly reflective of Cyrus's actions with the Jewish people. Now, Jews are not mentioned specifically on this cylinder. It's just mentioned he allows the return of exiles to their homeland. And so you can't say for certain you can use this to corroborate the Jews being freed from or released from exile by Cyrus, but you can use it certainly to say that the story matches up exactly with his character. And we know that the Jews were taken captive from other archaeological findings that's corroborated as well. And so if you have the Jews taken captive, they're in the land, and they're under Cyrus's dominion and in exile, and he has this grand kingdom, then he's in the habit of releasing exiles. It kind of makes sense that probably what the Bible wrote would be true, that he would have brought some of the exiled Jews back to their homeland in addition to any other exiles. So this definitely corroborates the narrative of Isaiah and Nehemiah perfectly. It exactly portrays the character of this king Cyrus rightly. So number 29, there is a 10-pound statue dated to about 500 BC. It's made of diorite, and it's currently housed in the Chicago Museum. It hails from ancient Persia, and it was inscribed with 3 languages with the text that reads, "I am Darius, the great king," and Darius is also mentioned as a Persian king in the Bible. It's specifically in the book of Ezra. And so that would be corroborated by this as well. Now, there is an alabaster jar dated to the 5th century BC, which was found in Egypt and is inscribed with the name of the Persian king Xerxes, who is referred to in the Bible in passages such as Ezra 4. It's inscribed in both cuneiform and hieroglyphics, and it's about 10 inches high, and it's now in the museum in New York. So there's a silver bowl dated to the 5th century BC, which comes from ancient Persia. It is a bowl fashioned as a wine drinking vessel, which comes from the house of the Persian ruler Artaxerxes I. It's inscribed with the name of Artaxerxes himself, as well as his father Xerxes and his grandfather Darius. The biblical figure Nehemiah is in fact listed as a cupbearer to Artaxerxes in Nehemiah 2. Found before 1935, it is nearly 12 inches in diameter and is one of 4 of such bowls to be discovered. The text is in the Old Persian languages using cuneiform, and it is on display in New York in the museum. Number 32, there is a piece of an ancient wine jug that has an inscription referring to King Herod. King Herod is noted in the gospel records of having killed the babies, boys 2 years younger, in reaction to the news of the birth of Jesus. So this inscription, it's around 2,000 years old, and it was actually found in an ancient garbage dump at Masada. So one man's trash is definitely another man's treasure. And so this corroborates the historical account of the Gospels noting Herod's reign. Number 33, Augustus, the first of the 3 Roman emperors mentioned in the Bible, who reigned from 27 BC to 14 AD, is referred to in Luke 2. He is a very well documented historical figure, and there is a marble bust of him kept at a museum in Istanbul. Tiberius, the second of the 3 Roman emperors mentioned in the Bible, reigned from 14 to 37 AD. He is referred to in Luke chapter 3. He is also well documented, being spoken of by the Roman historian Tacitus. His bust is also in a museum in Turkey. And now finally, the third of the 3 Roman emperors mentioned in the Bible, who reigned from 41 AD to 54 AD, is Claudius. He's noted in Acts 11 and Acts 18. Ancient historians such as Tacitus and Cassius Dio also wrote about him. And so that corroborates the historicity of the book of Acts and all the events it portrays there. We have that the ancient historians wrote corroborating the kings and the reigns of the kings, if you will, the Caesars of the time. Number 36, there are surviving to this day coins from the 1st century bearing the image of Caesars, including those with Tiberius. In Mark chapter 12, verse 16, these are what Jesus spoke of, saying, "Whose image and inscription is this?" Several types of coin were in circulation at the time of Jesus, and all bearing the image of Tiberius Caesar, who reigned from 14 to 37 AD, the time of the ministry of Jesus, Yeshua. Number 37, the Temple Mount contains the remains of some ancient walls to this day, part of the temple complex which was rebuilt by Herod starting in 19 BC. Herod's rebuilt temple was the one visited by Jesus Christ, Yeshua Messiah. As far as the temple itself and its outer walls, it was utterly destroyed by the forces of Titus around 70 AD by the Roman soldiers, who turned over every stone just about, lit flames all over into the crevices. They lit a fire so hot that all the gold would just ooze through the crevices, because they were a very determined regiment when it came to retrieving all the gold. And so this actually corroborates the gospel, that we have a surviving wall. It also corroborates, though, the level of destruction that was unleashed upon the temple which lines up exactly with what Jesus prophesied, that not one stone would be unturned. Speaking of just the sheer level of destruction unleashed on the Second Temple by the Romans, and as you can see, it's like one wall maybe survives, and so that is a very powerful evidence. Number 38. In 2004, workers digging in a sewer line in Jerusalem uncovered the terraced stone pool that was identified by archaeologists as the Pool of Siloam, which is referred to in John's Gospel in chapter 9, verse 7. The approximate date of the pool is believed to have been constructed was estimated by the dating of the coins placed in antiquity into the pool lining. So we found coins in the pool lining. Apparently the tradition of putting coins into the pool is quite ancient. And so that pool, it's actually 225 foot wide, and it's located actually at the end of Hezekiah's tunnel, which we mentioned in the previous video. And so this corroborates John chapter 9 wonderfully well. Number 39, we have an inscribed limestone slab that was found in Israel in 1961, and it's dated to 30 AD with the Latin inscription reading, Tiberium Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judah. Pontius Pilate is known from the Bible as the exact one who condemned Jesus to his death in Matthew chapter 27. So we have a limestone slab verifying his existence in history. And so that corroborates the gospel text of the Bible that mentioned Pontius Pilate. Now, number 40, the Bible mentions a location called Mars Hill in Greece where Paul spoke bearing a testimony of the God of the Hebrews. It is still in the center of Athens and appears to be formerly have been a building upon it where the council used to meet. So it still stands to a degree to this day. That building, however, is now gone. I mean, the Mars Hill location stands. That building's now gone, but Paul likely gave his speech within it on Mars Hill. The biblical text of Acts is corroborated by this. Number 41, the Bible mentions a proconsul named Gallio in Acts chapter 18, verse 12, in ancient Achaia. So there are slab pieces with an inscription in the Greek dialect of the 1st century AD, which was discovered in Delphi in 1905. It originally consisted of various fragments that were pieced together in 1967. The inscription mentions this exact same Gallio. The artifact is now in the Delphi Museum in Greece. Number 42. The Ephesian Theater in ancient Ephesus, now in modern-day Turkey, remains to this day. In Acts 19, reference is made to this theater in which a crowd gathered to protest the ministry of Paul. The theater had a seating capacity of approximately 24,000 people, and it can still be visited to this day. And so there's plenty of corroboration for Acts 19 in the fact that that stands to this day. Number 43, the Bible records, actually I should be more, number 43, hallelujah, so this is the final one, hallelujah, of this quick list. And remember, this is a non-exhaustive list. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but these 43 findings, they are absolutely fantastic for sort of a beginner's introduction to biblical archaeology. So number 43, the Bible records that people involved in a riot in Ephesus after the preaching of the gospel caused a great many to abandon their ancestral gods, and shouting in an outrage, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians," in Acts 19. Well, there remains to this day a marble statue of the goddess known as the Great Artemis. It was discovered in the city and measures over 9 feet in height, and it's made in the 1st and early 2nd century BC. It's now on display in the Ephesus Museum. Ephesus was known in the ancient world as the center of the worship of Artemis, and the temple devoted to her in the city was considered to be one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And so that corroborates the historicity of Acts 19, and that it actually makes perfect sense that the early believers would have run-ins with the followers of the cult of Artemis. So that concludes this list of 43 quick findings. I can also provide you a list of biblical characters in total that have their identity and existence somewhat corroborated by archaeological findings in one way or another, and that would include some of the ones that were in this list, some that were not in this list. But in terms of those biblical characters validated, whose existence has been verified by archaeological writings, cross-referenced by historians whose writings were copied, etc., etc., we have these following people. We have Pharaoh Shoshenq I. He's mentioned in 1 Kings 11:40 and 14:25. We have Pharaoh So-Osorkon IV. He's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 4. Pharaoh Tirharka from 2 Kings chapter 19 verse 9. Pharaoh Necho II, who's mentioned in 2 Chronicles chapter 35 verse 20. Pharaoh Hophra, who's mentioned in Jeremiah 44 verse 30, and King Misha, who's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 4 to 27. The corresponding dates for the timeline of those kings is 945 to 924 for Shoshenq, 730 to 715 BC for Osorkon, 690 to 664 BC for Tirharka, 610 to 595 BC for Necho II, 589 to 570 BC for Hophra, and 999 to 950 BC for King Misha. Now, for leaders from Aram, we have King Hadadezezerli from 900 to 842 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Kings 22 verse 3. You have Ben-Hadad, son of Hadadezer, 844 to 842 BC, who's mentioned in 2 Kings 6:24. King Hazael, 844 to 842 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Kings 19:15, 2 Kings 8 verse 8. King Rezin, 850 to 732 BC, who's mentioned in 2 Kings 15 verse 37. Now, regarding Israelite kings, and this is important. So again, this other list I'm giving you, I've decided to join into the video. This is just an explanation of the total of sort of kings and leaders and of these kind of characters that are mentioned in the Bible, that we have some archaeological finding or historian writing verifying their existence in history. Now, in the Bible, it records that the kingdom of Israel was originally unified under King David, but in the times following David, it became divided into 2 kingdoms. You had the northern tribes, the northern kingdom of Israel, and the southern kingdom of Judah. And at points, the relationship between these 2 kingdoms became quite hostile, at times even exceedingly hostile. So though they, for all intents and purposes, they were literally brothers, they were often adversaries to each other in so many ways. We have lots of archaeology validating kings from northern Israel, and they would be these kings in particular. King Omri, who was from 884 to 873 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 16. King Ahab, the husband of Jezebel, from 873 to 852 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 28. King Jehu from 842 to 815 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 16. King Joash from 805 to 790 BC. He's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 9. King Jeroboam from 790 to 749 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 6. King Menachem from 749 to 738 BC. He's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 14, etc. King Dekah from 750 to 731 BC. He's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 25. King Hoshea from 732 to 722 BC. He's mentioned in 2 Kings 15:30, etc. And Sanballat I, governor of Samaria, from 600 to 550 BC, is mentioned in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 10. Now the dates here are more pertaining to the actual archaeological item in question. That so any variance of the dating here, we're just talking about the archaeological find, that the dating for that. Southern Kingdom of Judah, so King David from 1010 to 970 BC. He's mentioned in 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 13, and many texts of the Bible. King Uzziah, so we're dealing with the Southern Kingdom of Judah here. King Uzziah, 788 to 735 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 21. King Ahaz, 742 to 726 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 38. Continuing, King Hezekiah, from 726 to 697 BC, he's mentioned in 2 Kings 16:20. King Manasseh, 2 Kings 20, verse 21, from 697 to 642 BC. Hilkiah, the high priest, from 640 to 609 BC. He's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 4. Shaphan, the scribe, during the reign of Josiah, from 640 to 609 BC. 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 3. Azariah, the high priest, during the reign of Josiah, 640 to 609 BC. 1 Chronicles 5:39. Gemariah, the official of Jehoiakim's reign, 609 to 598 BC, is mentioned in Jeremiah 36:10. King Jehoiakim, 598 to 597 BC, he's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 5. Yehukal, Zedekiah's reign, he's an official of the reign. He's from 597 to 586 BC. He's mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 37, verse 3, 38, verse 1. Gedaliah, the official during Zedekiah's reign, from 597 to 586 BC. He's mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 1. Now from Assyria we have King Tiglath-Pileser III, 744 to 727 BC. He's mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 19. King Shalmaneser V, from 726 to 722 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 2. King Sargon II, 721 to 705 BC, he's mentioned in Isaiah chapter 20, verse 1. King Sennacherib, 704 to 681 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings 18:13. Adremelech, the son and assassin of Sennacherib, 7th century BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 37. King Esarhaddon, 680 to 669 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 37. And now from Babylon, we have King Merodach-Baladan II, from 721 to 703 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 12. King Nebuchadnezzar, from 604 to 562 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings 24, verse 1. Nebo-Sarsekim, He's a chief official of Nebuchadnezzar II, 6th century BC. He's mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 39, verse 3. King Ewil-Merodach, 561 to 560 BC, is mentioned in 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 7. Belshazzar, the son and co-regent of Nabonidus, he's mentioned in Daniel chapter 5, verse 1, 543 to 540 BC. Now from Persia, the last of the group I have here, King Cyrus the Great, 559 to 530 BC, is mentioned in 2 Chronicles 36, verse 22. King Darius I, 520 to 486 BC. Ezra chapter 4, verse 5. King Xerxes I, 489 to 465 BC. He's mentioned in Esther chapter 1, verse 1. King Artaxerxes I, from 465 to 425 BC. He's mentioned in the book of Ezra, chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, etc. King Darius II, from 425 to 404 BC. He's mentioned in Nehemiah, chapter 12, verse 22. So when you pour through the biblical archaeology review and various books of biblical archaeology, these are the list. This is a list of all the kings we find validated by some archaeological finding from a dig site, whether it be clay seals, prisms in cuneiform script, tablets, or wall carvings. All of these kings are covered, and as you expect, you'd expect it's most likely, most weighty that you'd validate the existence of the king, because they're a very important person, right? VIP. And so that's a lot of characters that are mentioned in the Bible that they are validated as historical, and I think that's very important to. I know it's kind of an addition to the 43 here that I want to provide you, but I felt it was worth throwing that in there. Again, places in the Bible. There are some places in the Bible that are also validated by archaeological finds. Some of these digs are older and some are newer than others in terms of the span that we've been engaged in archaeology, but these are actually Joshua's altar on Mount Ebal, mentioned in Joshua 8:30, the Gilgal stones, mentioned in Joshua 4:20, the walls of Jericho, mentioned in Joshua 6, King Hezekiah's wall was mentioned in the previous video, Nehemiah's rebuilt wall, which is mentioned in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 6. Joash's water shaft, mentioned in 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1 to 10. King David's palace, mentioned in 2 Samuel. The fortified gates of King Solomon, mentioned in 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 14. Jeroboam's altar, mentioned in 2 Kings 23. You have Balaam, the Balaam inscription, Numbers 22 to 24. The Tower of Siloam, spoken of by Jesus in Luke 13. Rahab's house, actually, in Joshua 2. When the site of Jericho was surveyed in the 20th century, they found that there was this one house in particular on the wall that somehow survived and was intact. And so it's posited that this was the house of Rahab, who was rescued when because remember, Rahab hid the spies from Israel and struck a deal with them that she'd hang this red cord from her window and they'd see and spare her household in exchange. And so there was one standing house in the site of Jericho, which is interesting. And we do believe it's Rahab's house. So stairs from the temple to the pool of Siloam, that's John chapter 9. Again, Hezekiah's tunnel, like we have a lot of places in the Bible in addition to kings that are verified. So I decided to give you some bonuses in addition to those 43 findings. And again, you can corroborate more with, say, Ron Wyatt's findings, and as of late, the Patterns of Evidence series by Tim Mahoney, Kenneth Kitchen's book. These are wonderful, wonderful resources. So we have lots and lots of evidence and lots of findings to corroborate the Bible. So God bless you. Do your due diligence, study, and show yourself approved. Hello everyone, Eric McRae here. I do want to say that if you do feel moved to send me a donation to contribute to the growth of this ministry, you may feel free to do so by sending e-transfers to the following email. That's eric_mccrae@hotmail.com. Again, eric_mccrae@hotmail.com. The spelling you can see on the screen. If you send an e-transfer there, it'll go directly to me and bypasses any need of other transactional fees with other platforms. So I never expect donations, but any donations I do receive, I greatly appreciate. Regardless, it's my pleasure to serve you in providing all the information that I can that will help you in your spiritual growth. God bless you, and see you next time.